Warning, I've watched Rent a Girlfriend's anime 5 times and read Rent a Girlfriend's manga 8 times, throwing away hundreds of hours of my life. I am clearly insane and my opinions and takes may be those of a crazy man. Enjoy the video and please help me.
So I'll still be there for you as your rental girlfriend.
You! It's you! You're the one I want!
Huh?
I love Rent a Girlfriend. And you might be thinking you're either doing this for views and you need to be sent to the psych ward, and you're right about both, but I'm being genuine when I say Rent a Girlfriend is my favorite anime and manga series. I love this series because of so many things, not including the rejection chapter, please don't bring that up, please. But I think it's incredibly well written, the emotional moments make me feel empty like I just took a huge piss, the relationships in this series are incredibly strong, and I'm obsessed over this show. You already know I've watched the manga and anime an unhealthy amount of times, but did you know I've been reading the series for the past 5 years since I was 13? Damn, is that sad. And even though this series is often called a garbage romance you can find anywhere, I don't think I'll ever find a series like Rent a Girlfriend ever again. I mean, even though I feel like I'm being abused by the author every time I read this, and I think this quote, Chizuru Greiji, the whole manga, see you all next week, perfectly captures how I feel about this godforsaken series, but I really do like this series. And the reason for this is whenever I read Rent a Girlfriend, this one question never leaves my mind. When a man has no looks, no skills, no talents, and the only thing they have to offer is passion and heart, is that truly enough for someone to drown in them? To explain this question, we have to look at why Rent a Girlfriend is so hated. Rent a Girlfriend has a lot of reasons for its hate, such as the terrible pacing, the annoying side characters, chapters being incredibly repetitive, the female main character Chizuru being unbearably inconsiderate, chapter 318 one of the worst things I've ever read, and the infamous chapter 218, where he cries in a swimming pool. Also, why is there 384 chapters? Why? And you might think these are bad, but these issues don't even compare, aren't even close to the greatest problem of all. The biggest flaw of Rent a Girlfriend? The main character, Kazuya Kinoshita. I think Giguk described it best when he said,
"This man is just a living bruh moment."
He's pathetic, lustful, cringy, dishonest, impulsive, and selfish. Kazuya is incredibly problematic, his narrations are ill-intentioned, and he constantly ogles at Chizuru. He makes me want to smash my teeth into dust and is the main reason for the hate Rent a Girlfriend receives. Kazuya is awful. So, now that we know why Rent a Girlfriend is so disliked, that brings us back to the focal point. Why do I love Rent a Girlfriend so much? Why did I keep up with this manga weekly for the past 5 years? Why do I believe Rent a Girlfriend's a masterpiece? Well, believe it or not, it's Kazuya. And although this sounds contradictory and you might be confused, let me first state my case. In the beginning of the series, Kazuya is incredibly unlikable. As I said previously, he's human scum and his every action makes me want to snap his arms. He is the opposite of a self-insert character where you just want to avoid being him at all costs. But suddenly, somewhere down the line, Kazuya changes. He gets something that changes the show completely. This is possible due to the author revealing one strength that Kazuya possesses, one strength that begins the turning point for the series. This one strength for Kazuya is passion. This is where the series truly begins. His passion is what brings the best of himself. His passion is why I've been keeping up with the show for the past 1400 days. His passion is why I believe Rent a Girlfriend is a masterpiece. Today, I'll showcase 3 of Kazuya's best arcs that display his passion the best and include the highest highs in the anime and manga. I'll prove to you that Rent a Girlfriend is a masterpiece and that I don't belong in an insane asylum. We will start with the arc that begins Kazuya's journey and where he first applies that passion. This is the beach arc. To catch up to speed, Rent a Girlfriend begins with Kazuya getting dumped by his ex. So Kazuya rents a girlfriend who would be Chizuru and blah blah blah. Now they have to maintain a fake relationship since both Kazuya and Chizuru's families think they're dating. Typical rom-com stuff. Back to the beach arc. Up to this point, Kazuya and Chizuru are still total strangers. Having to maintain their fake relationship even at the beach, surrounded by friends, they're pressured to play the pocky game in front of them. With a million thoughts rushing to his head, Kazuya cuts this short. With his grandma being released from the hospital in a week, his ex, Mami, showing immense signs of romantic interest, and their rental relationship still worlds apart, Kazuya wants to stop. He wants to end this fake relationship.
Chizuru and I were talking about breaking up.
This receives him a knockout punch from his childhood best friend, Kibe. From Kibe's perspective, his best friend is toying with his girlfriend and openly flirting with Mami. To him, he seems calculative and unfair to Chizuru, and the Kazuya he knows is not cherishing the girl in front of him. And although this seems like a small fight, Kazuya reflects, he acknowledges, and he actually grows, hearing,
Besides, it was fun. And I mean that.
From Chizuru, now that they are free from one another, was enough for Kazuya. That is all he wanted from his ex, and he received it from a rental girlfriend. Shortly after, Kibe approaches Chizuru wanting to repair the relationship between the two. Unaware of their rental relationship, he takes Chizuru aside and tells her of Kazuya's strongest quality: passion. You see, when the two were in primary school, the class planted morning glories and by accident, Kibe knocked over Kazuya's clay pot, flinging seeds everywhere. Kazuya, unaffected, placed the soil back into the pot. Even though there was no chance of a morning glory growing, he was always the earliest to water his pot. He blindly followed this small dream of impossible. Then, it paid off. The flower bloomed and it was more beautiful than any other. A rare flower sprouted instead, winning him first place. Kazuya is able to make any dream into reality. No matter how small the odds, he has heart, dedication, and passion, and ultimately,
He's not a bad guy. I know he'll make sure you don't regret it.
Kibe hands Chizuru a pair of ferry tickets for Kazuya and her to make up, unaware that the relationship is a rental one. On the ferry, Kazuya, unable to talk to Chizuru as she is sick, receives a call from Mami. Determined to follow Chizuru's words of chasing after Mami and to never rent a girlfriend again, he picks up the call from his ex. With this, Chizuru and Kazuya's relationship finally comes to an end. With Chizuru's sickness rapidly worsening, amplified by the shaky waves, she slips off the ferry and is launched into the ocean. Despite Chizuru's words that he can't rent true feelings, despite the ongoing call with his ex, despite the time and effort he put into his previous relationship with Mami, he neglects everything and dives. As Kibe said, Kazuya's ability to follow the dream of impossible is a talent. Kazuya swims through the harsh waters, endangering himself in the process, but all that matters is saving his rental girlfriend Chizuru. This is what the beginning of an impossible dream looks like. This is one of the many peaks of passion Kazuya possesses, and in the end, in Kibe's words, he's not a bad guy. And then he goes home and he jams his hand, but that's beside the point. This exact scene is what made me fall in love with the story. This moment stood out to me because despite only seeing the worst and even ugly of Kazuya's character, this change of pace of his personality, weirdly enough, felt natural. It felt earned. At this point, you still hate Kazuya and his ill intentions, but because of his previous fits of passion and learning from this arc that he just wanted the best for everyone, the story starts to turn and you start to hesitate. You start to root and even cheer for him. This is what makes these few seconds feel so triumphant. This one action is where Kazuya's eventual development is truly convincing. When I saw Kazuya follow this dream of impossible, I wanted to experience more of his growth and these great moments of passion. And that next great moment of passion comes during the best arc of this series. Across all of Rent-A-Girlfriend, this arc seems like a totally different show as they achieve the grandest emotional tones. And even though I throw this word around often, this is what I call absolute peak fiction. This is the movie arc. Chizuru's backstory is a tragedy. I mean, it's no guts or pun, but neither of Chizuru's parents are part of her life. Her grandpa, the one who pushed for her dream of acting and the only father figure in her life, died in the aftermath of a violent car accident, leaving Chizuru with words of hope when she was barely a high schooler. This pitiful upbringing is the reason for her bold, perfect persona. Alongside her busy day-to-day life, she balances school, acting, chores, and plays the perfect girlfriend for dozens of clients. This is all for her grandma. When Chizuru was younger, she made a promise that her dreams will come true and she'll prove this by being in a movie. However, with her grandma's health critically declining and her auditions leading to nowhere, one night, when it seemed like the world was against her, she firmly grasped a framed picture of her grandpa and cries alone. The only person left in her world is herself. It's Kazuya, holding a laptop with a crowdfunding page titled, "I want to make a film with actress Ichinose Chizuru." With a face full of hope and overwhelming confidence, he bravely proposes that they make a movie together. He is the man who will collect the funds to produce a movie. He is the man who researched the resources needed for the film. He is the man who will help Chizuru's grandma see her dream. He is the man able to make any dream into reality. With Chizuru's perfect persona slowly crumbling and her hands shaking, she's emotionally doubtful of the success of the project. But Kazuya declares,
I'm gonna do it! I swear to you, I'll see it through, no matter what happens!
With this, the movie arc has begun. Throughout this arc, Kazuya, in his newly found position of producer, pours his absolute everything, and due to his inexperience, he faces a lot of challenges. However, with each of these obstacles, Kazuya navigates through every one of them due to his passion. His passion to show this movie to her grandma and repay everything Chizuru has done for him. Skipping over a bit, with the filming coming to a close and the movie now in its editing phase, Chizuru, her grandma, and Kazuya check out the venue where the movie will be screened. With smiles on their faces, nothing can go wrong, right? Chizuru's grandma collapsed. She fell out of her wheelchair and laid unresponsive on the ground. Kazuya, panicking, turns to Chizuru, and all he sees is her frightened, pale face. However, in the hospital, Chizuru again maintains her perfect persona, no not you. As her grandma said, she's not very good at accepting her weaknesses, and in this critical situation, with her last living relative in a life-threatening condition, she's calm, almost emotionless.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't frustrated, but I have no regrets.
Kazuya can see through this lie clearly. All her frustrations, her pains, her hopes for making this movie. He knows the effort she puts in every single day and all the regrets she has. But despite all that, Kazuya is filled with the thought of, I can't do anything. Kazuya, who is able to make any dream into reality no matter how small the odds, who saved Chizuru when she was about to drown, who proposed and produced a movie for her, is unable to do anything for the sake of her happiness. He sits in silence. There is something. Back in the hospital room, Chizuru, failing to convince herself that she's fine, is sorry. She couldn't get the movie finished in time and she couldn't show her the actress she became. In a state where her grandma can hear but can't react, all she can do is apologize. She sniffles, tears up, and once again, she cries alone. It's the movie. Placing the projector, he walks out of the room without a word. Chizuru begs her grandma to watch, to see her dream, their promise, to no prevail. But just like that, she wakes up, looks, and smiles. At most, she only watched 10 minutes of the film. With the credits rolling, Chizuru, the decisive, brave, and perfect woman, for once is confused. Confused about what to do and what to say. What's the right choice? What's the wrong choice? What is she supposed to do?
I don't know anymore.
But her grandma comforts her through her final words, thanking her for her wonderful movie. She leaves with, "You are my pride and joy." Despite only watching a small part of her dream, she's happy with that. She's proud. And that promise from so long ago is finally fulfilled. When Chizuru emerges from the room, the sleepless Kazuya learns of her passing. At this moment, he asks the needed question.
Are you okay?
She looks back and without hesitance says the cruel words.
I'll be fine.
And that was it. Her perfect persona was more apparent than ever, never wanting to show her weaknesses, never wanting to be hurt again. She was beautiful. Too beautiful. After the funeral, Kazuya is struggling. With Chizuru's words echoing in his head, he's indecisive of what he can do, but decides in the end, he's going to cheer her up through the date of her life. When the day of the date arrives, they follow Kazuya's date plan he carefully thought out. To end the date, matching the end of the summer and the nightfall, Kazuya has brought sparklers. Although a bit childish, Chizuru is excited as they were her grandma's favorites. Kazuya briefly leaves and Chizuru grabs a single sparkler, and as his flame illuminates, she reminisces. She thinks back to a moment of her childhood where she lit sparklers surrounded by her grandparents, all smiling, everyone cheerful. They were happy. When Kazuya comes back, he finds her crying. His eyes widen. Although there were glimpses of genuine joy in their date, with Chizuru's shoulders shaking, Kazuya calls out for her. She swiftly reverts back to her perfect persona she's been playing for so long. However, for a brief moment, she was at her most vulnerable. Kazuya recognizes this. He knows that despite the money, research, and time he put into planning this date, he didn't even cheer her up. Not even for a second. And even if their relationship is merely client and rental girlfriend and that he's being annoying, pushy, or just plain trash for what he's about to do, he wants to be there for her. He loves her that much. Chapter 164 of the manga, or episode 36 of the anime. This is the single best moment of Rent a Girlfriend. It's Kazuya's speech.
She's pretty, fashionable, and kind, and her smile, the most beautiful in the world. But usually she prefers to stay strong. She does her best not to take it out on anyone else. But when the pain gets to be too much, she can trust me and cries.
As you may have noticed, throughout the movie arc, Kazuya did his best to not let Chizuru cry alone. When everything felt hopeless after failing her auditions, when her grandma was in a critical state, Kazuya made sure to always be there. This was no different. And with these final words of his speech, the girl who once cried alone in her room is now crying with a boy. She's no longer the only person left in her world. This is the beauty of Rent-A-Girlfriend. The entirety of the movie arc is spectacular, I can't praise it enough. None of the chapters in the movie arc felt wasted, except for Yuruka Go Away. And that payoff with Kazuya's speech is incredible. I vividly recall reading Kazuya's speech and I can't believe what I'm saying, but I teared up, dude. I actually teared up at Rent-A-Girlfriend and just wow. After reading that, what I could do was just flip through these panels over and over again. These 62 chapters or 12 episodes display Kazuya's character and his progression the best, his dedication for the movie's production, his undying love and care for Chizuru, and his empathy to cheer up this broken individual. These moments are so compelling because Kazuya wears his heart on his sleeve, so his development is that much more clear and expressive. Since the beach arc, we can see that Kazuya has grown so much. It may not be apparent because his terrible traits still persist every chapter, but he became so much more caring, so much more understanding, and so much more capable compared to the Lego divider looking protagonist he was at the start. Cause I can't imagine Kazuya being able to reach Chizuru's heart in the beginning, but since he has these moments of reflection and progression, he can now. After these incredible array of chapters, we move on to the next arc where Kazuya is the most honest with his feelings. Now that both protagonists are aware of each other's interests romantically, their relationship changes rapidly. Spanning only 13 chapters, this is the investigation arc. Something I haven't mentioned is that Kazuya quotes Chizuru by her rental girlfriend name, her real name being Chizuru Ichinose and Kazuya quoting her Chizuru Mitsuhara. This is to represent the thin line between them as client and rental girlfriends. This small mannerism is a constant reminder of the distance between the two. Then, this line was crossed during the end of the Paradise arc. Since talking about the Paradise arc brings me trauma, to summarize, Chizuru and Kazuya's rental relationship was exposed in front of their friends and family. Kazuya begins to break down, taking fault for every single mistake he made, every single lie he told. He's sorry, but one thing wasn't a lie. That's who Chizuru Mitsuya is to me, and that's why I love her. It was here Chizuru crossed the line, walking past family and friends, breaking her agency's contract, and crossing the line of client and rental girlfriends. Holding Kazuya's face, she kisses him. This is when Kazuya says my favorite line in the whole entire series. He says that from then and forever, from the flower to the trees, that the whole world turns for her. Now that everybody believes their rental relationship is real, you'd think they'll finally talk about their feelings after that monumental moment, right? Like they'll finally communicate? Wrong! 3 months passed because Chizuru ghosts Kazuya for no reason. No reason at all. When we see Kazuya again, he's an absolute mess. He's emotionally drained, but moreover, he's frustrated. Chizuru takes the blame for this. She understands that she has wronged Kazuya. The reason she ghosted him was because she was unable to navigate through the emotions of that kiss, but she's waiting to find out, so she takes the first step for once and accepts Kazuya's date request. The day of the date arrives. Despite both of them having lots to say, they fall silent. They aren't communicating, and with Chizuru putting up her persona once again, Kazuya begins to doubt himself and hesitate. We've seen Kazuya be harsh on himself multiple times. Throughout the series, he berates himself, insults himself, and worries over the tiniest details to a fault. However, in most of these moments, Chizuru is there to support him. This is no different. Here. With a gift in her hand, she bows down and apologizes for ignoring his messages and, more importantly, for being unable to navigate her feelings. Her sincere apology causes Kazuya to start confessing to her. In a shaky, unsure voice, he explains his faults and then delivers the critical question. But you know, I can't help but think that maybe that kiss was more than just professional. I want to ask you straight up, did it mean nothing more than that? He continues by stating that his previous words, "That's who Chizuru Mitsuya is to me, and that's why I love her," wasn't a lie. It was sincere and honest, and he truly loves her from the bottom of his heart. Chizuru says, "I'll tell you everything if you'll let me." She confesses that she doesn't understand her own feelings. From the position of a rental girlfriend, she wonders, why does she go so far to help Kazuya, to intervene in his problems, to support him time after time, risking her job in the process? However, she begins questioning Kazuya's claims of loving her, that since her job is to make people fall in love with her through her fake facade, that maybe he loves the rental girlfriend her, and not the real her. That maybe the girl you really love is Chizuru Mitsuhara, you know? That's her rental girlfriend name. That's the name that kept him at client and rental girlfriend, and the name Kazuya wasn't hoping to hear. His feelings didn't reach her, not even close. Mitsuhara will never be mine, he thinks. However, Chizuru politely asked, "So please, I'd ask you to wait, just a little longer. I want to find out too about these feelings which I've never felt before. So for just a little longer, I want to try seeing them for what they are." With this request of time by Chizuru, once they depart from the date spot, Kazuya runs. For 2.5 hours to hold closely his overflowing feelings of joy, he keeps running, and when he finds a secluded area, he yells a cheer of victory. After so much they've been through, his feelings finally reach Chizuru Ichinose. This yell feels cathartic. Personally, this is my favorite arc out of the 9 major arcs in the series. Although it is weaker in terms of characterizing Kazuya in the beach arc and doesn't provide the maturity and richness in the movie arc, when Kazuya's passion pushed through his doubts because of Chizuru's small gesture and apology, paired with his determined eyes yet shaky voice, it reminded me why I love this series. I love this series because of Kazuya. No matter what Kazuya pushes through, he always gives his 120% and he would dedicate everything to make Chizuru happy. Although his confession may have been messy and nerve-wracking, it reflects Kazuya so well. He's not handsome or charming, but because of that passion he possesses, none of that matters. You may be unhappy with Chizuru's indecisive response of being neither a yes or a no to Kazuya's confession. However, it feels climactic to know that Chizuru wants to learn more about Kazuya. And with Kazuya's feelings reaching Chizuru successfully, when Kazuya cheers in that secluded area, you can't help but cheer alongside him. What an arc and what a beautiful series. So, what can we learn from Rent-A-Girlfriends? Well, not much, but I think Kazuya teaches us that no matter how stacked the odds are against you, give it your all. You have a test tomorrow you didn't study for? Study now. You have a job interview you didn't prepare for? Prepare now. You're chasing a girl way out of your league? Well, don't stalk her like Kazuya did that one time, but chase her now. Currently, the manga has been in a really bad place with the exception of the most recent chapter, which is the greatest thing I've ever read. That kiss was actual peak, it was cinema. I get that I shed Rent-A-Girlfriend in a really good light, but seeing Chizuru, this very mature, bold, and almost cold person, slowly open up to Kazuya, and only Kazuya, is amazing. Rent-A-Peak has this weird effect on me where I just grew to love Kazuya, a person who I wanted dead, but seeing him try so hard, seeing him work tirelessly, seeing him dedicate so much of himself, I just can't wait for his efforts to get rewarded. And when we do eventually see his efforts get rewarded, when Chizuru finally dates him, that's the day where I think everyone will call Rent-A-Girlfriend with full confidence. A masterpiece. So, to answer the question in the beginning of the video, when a man has no looks, no skills, no talents, and the only thing they have to offer is passion and heart, is that truly enough for someone to drown in them? Yes, it is enough. In conclusion, fish Chizuru Reiji, this whole manga, see you all next week. I give Rent-A-Girlfriend an 8.3 out of 10. It's not bad, give it a shot.